Hey guys, Sam here at NA Studios. Thanks so much for checking the video out. Today I want to take a look at Logic Pro and the plugin manager. Now, this is one of those kind of unsung heroes in the application that you can do so much in that just makes your life easier and makes Logic easier to navigate. You can rename plugins, you can create your own special folders, create short names, you can even reset plugins if you're having issues with licenses, if they're not working. Whatever it is, you can just make things simpler and make your workflow more effective. Let's just jump in and take a look. So to get to the plugin manager, we just go up the top, go to Logic Pro and then to Preferences and Plugin Manager. Now, if you haven't seen this before, this is just where all your plugins are kind of catalogued. This is where you get everything, every plugin you've got installed on your system that's recognized by Logic, that's going to be in here. So on the left-hand side, we've got categories, more on that little menu in a second. And we've got manufacturers, all the manufacturers that I've got, the plugins on my system, and then all of the actual plugins just categoried here. So the first thing I want to take a look at is if we've got any plugins that aren't working, we can essentially reset them and make sure that we can see them within Logic. Now, this could happen for one of many reasons. Most likely it's going to be a licensing issue. So for example, in this scenario, I have a lot of iLok authenticated plugins. Okay, it's a weird system, but it works for now. And I've got one iLok that I travel with, and typically I'm an idiot, so I'll forget to plug it in when Logic starts and it won't recognize it. Go to open the plugin, doesn't like it. So if you've got a plugin that it says can't be opened, this way is going to fix that for you. So just to make things easier, if we go on the right hand side here, we've got compatibility. I'm just going to click that and then it's going to order everything by whether it's compatible or not, essentially. So anything that's working is together, anything that's not working is together. You'll see that we've just got a dash here. This is all the stuff that's built into Logic, so it doesn't necessarily need to authenticate it. It just kind of knows that it works already. And if we scroll down, typically this is going to be the stuff that we've had maybe on a demo version. So I've got the Empirical Labs EQ, I had a demo of that for a video. Various bits here that I've had demos for and the trials have expired, so I'm not worried about those. But these ones, the Sonox effects, I know that these are actually working. It's just that I didn't have the iLok plugged in when I started Logic. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Use over here, so that it's going to be in the system. And then I'm over the bottom here, I'm going to go Reset and Rescan Selection. Now you can do this to a number of them if you want. Let's just go crazy and try that. I know that all of these are on the iLok, so I'm going to select all of them, go Reset and Rescan Selection. And it's just going to try and validate all these plugins. You're going to get this little dialog on the left-hand side, and it's going to tell you what's passed and what hasn't passed. So for this, I know that the iLok is working, and you can see that all these are now successfully validated. So if you've got plugins that aren't working, if it's a licensing thing, whatever it is, this is a great way to solve that issue and get these plugins working again, get them back on your system. Next up then is a way of reordering your plugins essentially. So you can create your own folders, which you can put all your kind of most used, your favorite plugins into, and then you don't have to go through the manufacturer menu and loads of different menus just to get to that plugin that you want. There's a bit of a caveat here though, because on the Logic version that I'm on here, it's not the latest one, I don't mess around with that, but I've got a different one on my laptop, and I've noticed that there's something that's available here that wasn't available on my laptop, and you may be having this as well. So if you're looking at my screen now and saying, right, there's a category menu there, I haven't got that on my computer. Well, it's a bit weird, but typically what you have to do is you have this arrow here and it will be completely collapsed. So the arrow will actually look like this, but it will be right up the top here. So you have to click it and then drag it down. Once you've done it once though, it will never repeat that issue. I think it's just a bit of a bug in the system. So once you've done that, you've got this just one downward facing arrow and you can drag it down. So you see this categories menu, then you should be okay. But I just wanted to cover that before I go on to showing you how to create your own categories, because it can be a bit confusing if you haven't got that menu along the side. But once you've got that, you'll see that we've got categories here. So we've got amps and pedals, delay, distortion, everything. I've got one for some slate stuff as well, because I like to be able to access that quickly. But let's say we want to create another category. So let's call it my favorite plugins. And in this, we're going to put all the plugins that we use every day. So I'm going to drag this to the top, so it's always at the top. And then within that, let's just choose some. So this is quite a cool reverb, things texture. Let's put that in there. Let's just find something else. Let's go, I don't know, exponential audio. Let's go for Stratus. Let's put that in there. So now we've got one folder that has all of our favorite plugins in it. What we can do is just click done. and then we've dragged it up to the top of the plugin menu. So when we go to our effects, it's right at the top, my favorite plugins, and we can just chuck on anything we want. We don't have to go through all the manufacturer's menus or the pages. Everything we want is just in that my favorite plugins folder, and we can call it whatever we want, stick it up to the top of the menu, and just access those plugins far easier than going through all the different submenus. I find that really helpful. Finally, we can actually rename plugins and give them a different name in the menu so that they appear as something different if they've got a really long title. That's particularly pertinent with some manufacturers. So Plugin Alliance do this, where all their console plugins, the Brainworks console plugins, they're all just called BX_console. So when you have them in Logic, if you go for this Focusrite SC, we're going to put this on, but then you'll notice over here it just says BX console. That can be a little bit confusing because it doesn't actually tell you which BX console it is. We know it's from Brainworks, we know it's a console emulation, but we don't know that it's the Focusrite one. And that can be quite confusing. So there's a way around this that we can change the name of it so that it appears differently in the plugin menu. Here's how you do it. So in the plugin menu again, we're just in the Plugin Alliance section. I'm just going to make this a little bit larger. Let's go for the Focusrite one to start off with. So we can call the custom name whatever we want. So if we call it Focusrite Brainworks, and then the short name we can call Focus BX, for example. Then we click done on that. And then over here it's going to change to be called Focusrite BX, because that's the short name that we gave it. The short name is going to appear in the smaller version of where we see the name. So in just the plugin slot, if we've got it in the mixer or the inspector, it's just going to call it that short name. So you're not just seeing BX_console, you're calling it whatever your short name is. And then the actual longer name for it, we can see up here is Focusrite Brainworks. So obviously if we go into audio units, then go to Plugin Alliance, that's going to reorder things because this does it alphabetically. So if you don't want to call it something different there, you just want to keep it as the same name so it's still in the same order, you can do that, but you can change the short name so every time you see it in the mixer, you know exactly what it is, and there's going to be no confusion about which Brainworks console emulation that is because you've changed the name and you can see it easily. Thanks for checking it out. I hope this has been useful for you. Just a couple of ways that we can use this plugin manager utility. It's not sexy, it's not smart and sparkly, it doesn't emulate a vintage compressor or whatever, which is the stuff we normally talk about when we're considering DAWs, but it's a really useful way of personalizing your DAW and making it so that everything is just a little bit easier when you're working with plugins that don't quite appear in the way that you want them to. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care.